Welcome to the Investing Bros. I am T Shroom, and we're going to be getting into the charts, taking a look at some news, and we're going to be getting into what matters for your crypto portfolio. This is the Investing Bros. Let's get it. All right. Well, you'll notice that I'm not Tim. I am T Shroom, and I've got a message here from Tim, and he wanted everybody to know that everything is okay as of now, but he had taken a little bit of time this afternoon to just be with his family after there was a little bit of an incident that happened with his family. Sorry, I'm scrolling through trying to find this message, but luckily everything is okay now. But let's see. Sorry, there's just so much engagement here in the Discord. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. Maybe he put it in the chat room. All right. Okay. Well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it, but essentially there was a little bit of an issue with Tim's son Brody. There was unfortunately a little bit of a medical situation that had to be attended to. So, we'll be continuing to pray for him. Everything is okay now. Everything is in a stable situation with little Brody, and everything's going to be okay, is what it's looking like at this point. So, again, thoughts and prayers go out to Tim and his family, especially little Brody and Taylor, Tim's lovely wife and mother of Brody. We'll be, continuing to let you all know what's going on with that. But yeah, so let's go ahead, and we're asking the question in this episode, is this a bull trap? And what is this? Well, Bitcoin getting back up above this downtrending line of what was support for a couple months here, March, April, and then leading into May. We broke down this level here, 59,000, as you all know, crushing down to 56.3 here on the Kraken charts before a pretty significant resumption to the upside here, almost 5.5% here to the live price is what I'm seeing. And overall, this is starting to look like a recovery. But could it be more than that? Could it potentially be a bull trap? We're going to talk about a lot of headlines that are going to indicate both ways, and let you all make your own decision. But we're also going to take a look at the charts as well to do that. So let's go ahead and jump back in here. Again, this is a very simple chart. Let me move over to my more complex chart where I've got all kinds of levels drawn here. I think that what's important to ask with a question like this, is it a bull trap, is how do we know when we're going higher for sure? How do we know when we're eminently pushing back into all-time highs, right? Clearly right now, the market is not convinced, but we've just reclaimed an important line of support, and we're right now in the very process down here in the 4-hour of proving that it is indeed now support and no longer resistance, right? So what do we need to see? Well, for those of you who've been experienced in crypto for a while, you'll maybe roll your eyes at this, at the simplicity, but those of you who are just getting into crypto or just getting into chart reading, what we want to see here is we want Bitcoin to come back down to this line and go ahead and move higher, right? Coming down, even printing close to this line and then moving up, that's just a classic retest confirmation of this being now a level of support, no longer resistance. When you get down below the level, it's now resistance. When you are able to find support and then bounce up higher, that's obviously support, right? So support and resistance. What we want to see here is a reclaim of this previous line level of support and confirm it as support and then move higher. The next level from there will be this 61.3 level, get back up above that, and then I think that the market will be much more convinced that the price discovery to the downside is over. But right now, we have to assume that what is going on is a bull trap. I'm not saying that it is, but what it is functioning as psychologically right now is it's bringing in less experienced bulls, taking a look at the market, saying, oh, price is back up above maybe even 60,000. We get back up into 60,000. That's when I should buy back in. Now, if you don't have any Bitcoin at all, it may not be a bad time to buy back in, to buy in at these levels. These are relatively low levels, right? But if you're trying to modify a DCA strategy and get in at the best time possible, right, you may be buying at a time here again from 50 where we are now, live price 59.3 up to 60,000. You may be buying in a level that is just about to sell off again and test even lower. Now, we've been talking about here on the Investing Bros the potentiality for Bitcoin to go ahead and print down below 50 all the way down to $48,000. Now, you might be hearing me say that, and you're tuning into the Investing Bros for the first time, and you're like, T-Shroom, what the heck? How could you be so bearish? How could you be this way? I thought that you wanted Bitcoin to be the new currency of the world. I thought you have a lot of Bitcoin. How could you want Bitcoin to go lower? Well, first of all, welcome to the channel. We are Investing Bros. Usually I'm joined by a very handsome, bearded gentleman. But as I said at the top of the hour, he was not able to be with us today. He'll more than likely be with us tomorrow. But thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for clicking. And also consider smashing the like button if you're getting a bit of value out of this video so far. So you might be asking, T-Shroom, why would you ever even bring up the fact that Bitcoin could go below 50,000? Well, because I want you to be prepared. And for those of you who have never even bought Bitcoin, right, this could be a good opportunity to buy very, very low, right? Maybe you're tuning into Bitcoin or tuning into crypto for the first time and you're thinking, man, this Bitcoin, this Ethereum stuff, it's expensive. 50,000, 60, 63, 70. Y'all are crazy spending this much money on digital assets. I don't even know what the heck this is, right? I get it. First of all, there's a lot of great content out there to educate you on the innovation that is blockchain and why it is a superior technology to build the future of currency on top of. And I would love to tell you more about that. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll definitely give you the full details on that. However, if you're just coming in for the first time, you're coming in at a time where we've just had a huge move. Bitcoin has had a huge move to the upside and put in all-time highs, right? Now, a lot of people are looking at those all-time highs, and they're like, man, that's impressive. Maybe I should buy, right? And a lot do. And unfortunately, they're buying what's called the top. They're buying the top, and then as price comes back down, they're selling, right? They're selling for a loss, right? If you bought up here, right, and you sell down here, you're selling for a 13, and in extreme cases, you're selling for a 20% loss, right? If you held this whole time and you're selling down here, you're starting to sell for a 23% loss, right? But as the price resumes higher, bulls become a little bit more invigorated, a little bit more confident in the market, right? And that can push price higher. It can also find a level of resistance and that it rejects off of and move lower, right? And that's what potentially could happen here. We could get all the way back up to 61.2, but the market could say, yeah, but you know what? There's not a lot more buying right here, and we're going to go back down through the golden pocket, and we're going to test 50, right? And we're not going to stop there. We're going to keep going, and we're going to even come down and test this 0.5 level of the Fibonacci trend extension. So that is how we could potentially arrive at lower than 50,000 price per Bitcoin. If that scares you, that's okay. That means that you have not been very experienced here in the crypto markets, and that's fine. We welcome you in. We have, as you can see in the chat, we have a very welcoming community of bros who are dedicated to enriching themselves, right? Not first and foremost, but that is one of the things we do here, enriching ourselves through our investments, but also helping others learn to enrich themselves. We like to teach people to fish rather than just give them fish, and it would be very wrong of me to say, just buy, buy, buy. Look, we're going higher. Buy. We just reclaim this level of support. Buy, 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 right? First of all, even on the 4-hour, we haven't technically gotten a strong reclamation of that level. But what would be much more wise of me to do, which would be much more sober-minded of me to do, is encourage you to consider that we could potentially go lower. So what would you do, right? If you're a little bit newer to investing, newer to crypto, and you're just coming in and you're saying, hey, all my buddies are making money here, or they're losing money, but I've heard you buy low, you sell high. What should I do? Well, one thing that you can do, one thing that an intelligent person with a little bit of disposable income, money they can afford to lose, might do here, right? And you might fall into this category, although this is not financial advice, is buy a little bit where we are today, right? If you don't have any exposure to Bitcoin, buying a little bit where we are today is not a bad idea. Why? Because we are lower. We are lower than our all-time high. And you want to buy low and you want to sell high, right? Now, eventually, a lot of very intelligent people have estimated that Bitcoin could get up to $200,000, $250,000, or certainly $100,000 per Bitcoin, right? So buying at 50,000 further down would double your money. It's very advantageous, right? Now, what you could also do is buy a little bit today, and in the event that we do go down to 50,000 or even 48,000 and tap the 0.5, you could go ahead and keep some money on the sidelines. We like to call it dry powder. Keep a little dry powder on the sidelines just in case we go that low, right? So that is called good risk management, and that's just the beginning, not the end, to understanding how to invest in high-risk assets, highly volatile assets like Bitcoin. And I say high risk, every day, every passing day, it's becoming less and less high risk and actually becoming a flight to quality, in the words of Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock. So again, if you're just joining us, Tim was not able to join today. He is actually with his family, just kind of taking some time to just be with them. And that is because his son, Brody, had a little bit of a medical situation that happened. Everything at this point is stable. Everything seems to be okay. However, he just wanted to just kind of take some time to be with his family today. So you got T-Shroom, right? And we're kicking it. We're doing it. We're making it happen. All right. Well, that's Bitcoin. Go ahead and let me know in the chat if there are anything else you guys want me to do a little bit of TA on. B-Ball Golf said, could we do Matic and or Link TA today? I think we can. So let me go ahead and put a bow on this TA. One thing Eric Wallen was shouting out, and I have not addressed, but I'm notorious for addressing, is the Bollinger Band. So let's go ahead and jump on to those. Going to throw up my Bollinger Bands, probably go out to the daily and maybe even the weekly to check on some things here. Oh, Eric, I'm very glad that you mentioned that. I'm glad that I saw it, because here we are coming into 50, so basically 60,000 exactly. Actually, 60,000 would be a little bit too high. It's going to be 59.8 is where the Bollinger Bands are coming in right now. And as you can see, the Bollinger Bands played a much more strict role back here on the 4-hour, back here on April 21st and April 20th. I'm sorry, April 19th, where strong support was met at that 20-day moving average, where the midline, that orange line of the Bollinger Band, 20-day moving average, right? When we sliced through that, there was no looking back. Since then, we've been in a downtrend, not able to put in a higher high, right? Putting in lower highs, in fact, not able to put a higher low, putting in lower lows and increasingly lower lows as well, right? This is an acceleratory move to the downside of lower lows. Not good, not what you want to see. If you have a leverage long position to the upside, obviously a lot of folks would have gotten liquidated if that was the case. So what we are trying to do at this point is get higher highs, get higher lows on Bitcoin. But right now, we're coming into this level of the Bollinger Band, at least on the 4-hour. That will be important. This could be the next 24 hours battleground. Now that we have been able to somewhat convincingly, we're in the beginning stages of creating a retest here and a confirmation of that downtrending line of support, of what we want to be support. However, we could get trapped from this Bollinger Band and come back down and break through, right? And then this would not be confirmed as support just yet. So that's where we are. However, if we do go ahead and print above that Bollinger Band, find support there, and get off to the races, we could start to see bulls say, okay, I'm getting off the sidelines. This is as low as Bitcoin's going to go. This is the opportunity. Let's pull the trigger here. Let's make it happen, right? A rejection off that Bollinger Band would be the opposite, right? Be, okay, well, I'm going to hold off, maybe even wait into the weekend and see what Bitcoin's doing then, and come back and see if I can pick up Bitcoin for 55,000 again, or 50,000, or even 48,000. So we will have to see what ends up happening, but let's go out to the daily chart and take a look and see how those Bollinger Bands are printing as well. Out on the daily, they're a lot less relevant. There's many lines. There are many levels of resistance until the Bollinger Band becomes relevant again. But as you can see, on the daily chart, we got not one, but two rejections here before this movement lower. So in case you're not exactly tracking, the Bollinger Band midline here is the orange line. It's a line that I find to be quite useful. All right, so that's a lot of traditional TA. Let's go ahead and jump into our partners indicators. This is LuxAlgo. This is the LuxAlgo oscillator matrix on the daily chart. You can see we're dangerously close to putting in a lower low here. After 3 consecutive lower highs, we're dangerously close to putting in another lower low here on the hyperwave, and that money flow is red, right? Red and moving to the downside. So this isn't what we want to see, but it is a pretty accurate reflection of what we're seeing here on the price charts, which is movement to the downside and a loss of bullish momentum and a gaining of bearish momentum. Up here on the MACD, again on the daily charts, we do continue to see an acceleration here of the red histograms to the downside and those MACD lines nice and wide and continuing to point down. So that's going to be just a continued bearish momentum signal out on the daily chart, right? So Bitcoin has to overcome the oscillators, has to overcome the momentum indicators and prove to the market, no, this line of support, getting back up above this is important, and we are here, and we're only going up from here. To be honest with you, bros, this is why I think that we need to be very cautious about this being a bull trap. It's very possible that we could come back and dip lower and come back for more downside price exploration. So at this point, my bias over the next 48 hours is that we probably lose. We probably do not confirm this as support. But that's just my bias. That's my opinion, right, of what I think is going to happen. So just to kind of scale that out for you, I'll go back down to the 4-hour. Now that I've taken a look at pretty much everything. Actually, before I do, let's look one more time. Let's look at some other. Let's look at LuxAlgo out on a little bit more of a simplified chart. Go back over to Kraken and take a look here. I want to see what the reversal bands are saying. So the reversal bands are going to be indicators of exactly what it sounds like, reversing. And right here, we can see that we're not in that yet on the daily chart. We're not in the reversal zone quite yet. We tapped where the reversal zone came all the way up to. We just barely tapped that right at that 56.3 level. But right now, that level is going lower, right? So price would need to come a lot lower if it was going to get into that reversal cloud zone. So for right now, I'm not thinking that this is too much of a factor. So let's go ahead, kill that. Let's turn on the price action concepts. And as you can see, Bitcoin had spent a decent amount of time knocking on the door here of the upper band of this, the upper block, I should say, of the premium zone, right? And now getting back into more than likely coming back, and well, not more than likely, but potentially could come back and hit this equilibrium zone. And you'll notice what that price level is 48, right? Right around in here, 48 is kind of that downside potentiality, 49 and 50. So could we come down and test this? Well, according to the price action since September, the average of which the equilibrium price is back down at the 0.5 of that Fibonacci level as well. That confluence does tell investors, does tell traders that this is a level that Bitcoin historically could come back down to, right? So that's what we're taking a look at. And this is, again, I hate to be so bearish on the short term, but this is potentially a time to be able to get Bitcoin back on the discount. All right, we had a request for Chainlink. Overall, bros, I just don't, the overall takeaway here is this isn't the time to FOMO into Bitcoin, right? This is a time to, if you have a DCA coming up, make that DCA, right? These are not bad levels to be buying into Bitcoin. However, we could absolutely see more of a pullback, especially if we don't get a rejuvenated buy thesis, a new buy thesis coming in over the next week or two, or at least the hope of one, right? So just, keeping an eye on the charts. Now, let me put a big disclaimer on all this. I'm still very much long-term, very, very bullish. There's no traps for the bulls in the long term. Holding Bitcoin through 2024 and through 2025 may be one of the most bullish things that you can do with your money today, right? Are there going to be other investments in the pharmaceutical stocks and like meme coins that are going to outperform Bitcoin? Absolutely. But as a conservative play in the space of cryptocurrency, buying and holding Bitcoin, even at the levels we're at today, historically, after the Bitcoin halving, has been one of the best times to be a hodler of Bitcoin, right? So buying and holding today is not a bad decision, right? But you have to be able to have the cojones. You have to have the strength, the intestinal fortitude to hold on in the event that Bitcoin goes ahead and says, yep, we're not going to reject here. We're going to hit that midline of the Bollinger Band on the 4-hour, and that's going to be it for us. We're going to come down and go back into the equilibrium zone where investors can pick Bitcoin up for $49,000, or 17% discounted from where we are today. All right. Chainlink. Let's take a look at Chainlink. We're almost at the halfway mark of the show, and I do have quite a bit of news to cover. But before we get there, let's go ahead and take a look at Chainlink. All right. So let's see. Let's actually see where the reversal bands are coming in on the daily. So we had spent, so unlike Bitcoin, we had gone ahead and spent some time down in the reversal bands, and that did not play out in a very explosive way, but that's because the larger macro environment for crypto hasn't been as bullish as it could be, with Bitcoin kind of in a price discovery phase to the downside. So of course, Coinbase, of course, Chainlink is kind of going right along with the market. Although Chainlink is known for being a contrary movement, a contrary mover to Bitcoin and sometimes to Ethereum as well. What I'm looking at here, it's not very great. Why? Because we've given up this level of support back here. You can see that if I drew it on these candlesticks here, you can see that this was a pretty strong level of support that was obeyed and ultimately had a nice little pop to the upside, right? And this would have been back in January, moving into the new year. Chainlink had quite a nice move to the upside. However, since then, we've given those gains back and had to move downward, most importantly, penetrating through this uptrending line of support, right? So now that we're trading below it, we're in a similar situation where the bulls are watching to see. I'll go ahead and just extend this line out. The bulls are watching to see, okay, we just got back up above it, but is this it? Or are we going to drop down, and could we potentially see a similar percentage move for Chainlink from Bitcoin? About 17%. Could potentially get back into 10 for Chainlink, right? I think right now, Chainlink can surprise you, right? It can lose kind of its kind of tag along aspect that a lot of altcoins have with Bitcoin. It can sometimes deviate from that and actually make a move higher when the rest of the market isn't. So definitely watch out for that. But for Chainlink, I'm asking the same question. Will it actually hold this line of support? And there's a chance it won't. There's a chance that it just won't. And we are at a level 3 sell from ALGO. So, and that was printed just 2 bars ago, right? So overall, let's go ahead and jump into the Bollinger Band here as well for Chainlink. And yeah, we've been trading below the Bollinger Band, I mean, really since back here, since March 29th, right? So basically through the entire month of April, we haven't printed a single candlestick above the midline of the Bollinger Band on the daily chart, right? This isn't the 4-hour. So that's pretty bearish, but this could indicate that this is enough and that we're ready to go ahead and make a move higher for Chainlink. On the MACD, on the daily chart, see, this kind of gives me a little bit of hope because this last histogram, today's histogram is green and it's higher than the previous one, right? But overall, this is a clear deceleration in the green histograms, and you kind of have the MACD kind of trying to make up its mind if it wants to. Well, this was a failed bear cross. This was a failed bear cross in the daily, so this could potentially and it kind of coincides with this sprouting of a green histogram that there could be a little bit of hope here for Chainlink. Looking at the ALGO oscillator matrix, in contrast to Bitcoin, you're seeing those lower highs consistently, but you've now gotten a higher low, which is nice to see, right? And you've also gotten that after the reversal dot. So Chainlink to me looks more bullish than Bitcoin, but we have to prove that we can get up above this. And I would even call it kind of a zone of support that it really needs to overcome, right? If I drew a line here from these candlestick closes to some of these back here, you can just see that there was so much support back here that if you get down back below that, after how many times did it confirm that? Once, twice, 3 times. It was this level of 13.5, call it, of the zone was very, very significant. And now we're right in this same level and really kind of fighting to even keep the first one, right? Much less get up above the second one. Okay, so is this perfect TA? No, but this is just kind of off the cuff. I don't do a ton of ongoing TA for Chainlink, but this is just what I'm seeing. It looks more, on the oscillator standpoint, it looks more bullish than Bitcoin on the daily, but it's just, I mean, this is a big cluster that you want to get out of the downside of. You don't want to be below, you don't want to be trading below this cluster, right? Especially after you had a big price exploration to the upside, right? So the sooner that we can move out of that, the better. But right now, again, those macro headwinds for Bitcoin are playing a significant role for the rest of crypto. And Chainlink, although it can buck that trend, right now seems to be just going right along with it. Also, so again, not trying to pour cold water, not trying to be a bear here and be like, ooh, all these assets need to turn around and go to the downside. What I'm saying is, make your DCA, right? Or if you're coming in for the first time to crypto, get a little bit of exposure, but wait, because we may be going lower. And once we get down to that 0.5 line for Bitcoin on the Fibonacci, that is traditionally a pretty strong line of support, and then we go higher. And look, the worst that happens, the worst that can happen with that is you have a little bit of dry powder on the sidelines, right? Let's say we don't come down to 48, right? The worst that happens is that we just continue to trade sideways. You have some dry powder, or we even come up, right? You can just deploy that on the next pullback, right? Buy there, and it's going to go higher. Now, why wouldn't the investing bros be saying the same thing, though? If we had a move higher and then we had a pullback, why right here wouldn't we be saying, oh, well, it could be a bull trap? Well, because then we have so much more momentum to the upside. Then I'm starting to doubt that the bears really have any control. But right now, it looks to me like the bears have a lot of control. And it's not just because we've broken down below this downtrending line of support. It's also because the MACD lines are red and accelerating red. The MACD histograms, that is. The MACD lines are moving downward. And after a failed attempt to resume and cross bullish and move to the upside, they're still drooping downward, right? Negative, bad, bearish momentum. And the Lux Algo oscillator matrix is showing the same, right? A loss in momentum. All right. So that's Bitcoin. That's Chainlink. I think I saw Fade and TradFi said, just got here, so T-Shroom is saying bye, right? Look, if you don't have any Bitcoin exposure, bye is the is the signal. It is the message. But just don't buy with all of the money that you have set aside to invest, right? Buy with maybe 20 to 50%, 25 to 50% of what you have set aside, and then come back, a week into the weekend, 48 hours later, and say, hey, is it lower or higher? And if it's higher, then consider, okay, well, is this signaling to the market that it is going imminently back into a rally, right, and to test all-time highs? Or is this a bull trap, right? And we're going to go lower, and I'm going to be able to buy Bitcoin at a lower price, right? These are kind of just the classic questions that you're asking yourself as an investor and as a trader. I like it. Now, let's go ahead and jump into some news. Let's see what we've got cooking up here in the chat, though. B-Ball said, Archer, would you say we're in a zone of danger? I don't know who Archer is. I definitely would not say we're in a zone of danger. I think if we get down to 48 and we keep pushing lower and we see 47, I don't think we're in a zone of danger necessarily, right? But that would be where I'm starting to ask the question and look back historically. Okay, how much has Bitcoin pulled back and still remained in a bull market, right? That's kind of the question I would be asking. Danger, I think, is a little bit too dramatic to be categorizing, especially Bitcoin where it's at this moment. But even a push lower from 48, you could kind of just chalk it up to oversold and overextended to the downside, which would be an excellent time to buy if that's the kind of the theory that you're going with. Dream Tanks TV, interesting, said it's a bear trap. It's a bear trap, okay, because we are in a bull market, point blank. That's actually a really good point. You can still have bull traps in a bull market because there are manipulators, right? There's people who are manipulating the market, and there's people who just get trapped, right? Maybe not out of some manipulator, but out of their own poor risk management. They get trapped. They have to sell for a loss. So there are absolutely bulls that get trapped in a bull market, especially in an asset class like crypto, because it's very volatile. In a bull market, in the S&P 500 is a little bit different because a 3% move to the downside is significant, right? But that's not maybe that significant for your portfolio if you're managing it independently versus crypto. All right. Very cool. But I appreciate that. I think that, that's important to remember that overall, bull traps and bull rallies and bear traps and bull, whatever. I think those can be true, that they may not happen within each other, but overall, I do think that they can exist. All right, let's go ahead and get into some of the news here. Let's see. I think we had someone else chime in on that. Lion in my pocket said a trap means you got a legit breakout of a pattern one way and then it reverses to the other direction. Yeah. So this is an excellent example of that. No breakout, no trap. Interesting. Okay. That's an interesting take. I generally agree with that. I think what we're seeing is a failed breakout, right? Right. I mean, right now in live time, we're seeing Bitcoin kind of backtrack what could have been coming to be a test and a breakout, and so it would be a failed breakout, right? Would be a failed breakout, and thus would be a bear trap. Now, some people aren't getting. Now, hopefully, you're not getting trapped. That's kind of the whole point that I'm calling it out here, is so that you don't get trapped. Looks like there might be a little bit of wiggle room to say we haven't quite given up that line of support. Let's go down to the 4-hour. Yeah, so on the 4-hour, we're still very much in play above this downtrending line of support. But I appreciate the chat chiming in and giving their take. Regardless, it really all these terms are just ways to think about the market. If you draw super fine lines on any of these types of terms, then you're probably doing yourself a disservice. I love T-Shroom's honest response to my meme question from Archer. Okay, was that from the TV show Archer? It's been a long time since I've read that, or since I've seen that show. Ian said, "Dude, I'm not even eating. Put everything on crypto." Oh, okay. Okay, so you're being very irresponsible and you're not eating or paying rent or anything like this. You're just putting it all in crypto. It's not a casino, but hey, I respect the struggle and the degen meme of it all you got going on here, Ion. I love it. All right, let's move on here into the news. Now, this news, you thought I was just going to go right on into it, didn't you? This news is brought to you by iTrust Capital. It's who we trust with our crypto IRAs. Crypto IRAs, you might be thinking, wait a second, I can get the tax advantages of a traditional IRA with crypto? You absolutely can. And if you've experienced the tax benefits of keeping your investments within an IRA on the stock side, then you know how much you can lower your tax bill every year by when you buy and sell and when you take profit in crypto, you can actually have it in an IRA these days. And the sponsor and the partner that we work with is iTrust Capital. They can help you set up that amazing crypto IRA and you'll be off to the races, greatly reducing your tax burden when tax season comes around. All right, let's go ahead and get on into the news here. First of all, the bearish news, right? This is a record low print for net outflows of the spot Bitcoin ETFs. You may have seen this kind of circulating. Oh, you can't see it. Circulating around social media here. This is not good. This is not what we want to see, right? But it is somewhat what we've been expecting here from the investing pros. Is that we had a very, very high and record-setting, by the way, inflows into the Bitcoin spot ETFs, followed by basically neutral, or followed by, that thing's to get out of the way, followed by some sell-offs there, and then kind of a leveling out all through here. But now we're seeing not only a renewed wave of selling, of outflows, but we're also seeing a spike downward. So, I think investors that are on the sidelines looking to deploy new capital into crypto, into Bitcoin, are seeing this and they're thinking, no, the groundhog just went back in the hole. I'm not deploying. I'm going to come back in a week, or I'm going to come back in 48 hours, something like this. So that's not good, right? Again, not to be bearish, but that is kind of, for me, I'm looking at the market saying, ooh, maybe I keep my dry powder on the sidelines to see if we go lower. This isn't rocket science, guys. Is it a full-on bull trap? Like, is there some kind of manipulation out there trying to fake a breakout and then have you buy into that breakout? Right? Not quite yet, right? But we want to be preemptive. We want to make sure that we're not getting caught up and swept up in the manipulators' traps, so to speak. But let's go ahead and look at some of the bullish developments that are taking place, and we'll also look at some of the bearish things that are going on today as well. Second largest European bank, BNP Paribas, bought BlackRock BTF shares, according to their 13F report. So we got, what was it, BNY Mellon? We got this headline yesterday, the same headline last week for BNY Mellon, that they have put some IBIT as well as GBTC. I think there's just the normal one, not even the mini one, GBTC, on their balance sheet. I laugh because it's kind of weird because GBTC has the highest fees. Why would you do that? But that's what BNY Mellon went with. Let's get into some of the details here. The second largest bank in Europe, maybe you've heard of Europe, by asset, BNP Paribas has allocated a comparatively minuscule portion of its investment portfolio into IBIT, the BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF. Nevertheless, it marks one of the first verified occasions on which a major financial institution has purchased shares of a spot Bitcoin ETF, at least partially validating the thesis that institutional investors will be drawn to Bitcoin exchange-traded funds. BlackRock sees sovereign wealth funds, pensions coming to Bitcoin ETF. This, of course, is something that if you've been in crypto for a while, you've been kind of tracking this for quite some time. But BlackRock, is assuming that maybe the investment class that they're trying to appeal to doesn't anticipate this, isn't something that they've heard of, pension funds and sovereign wealth funds, family offices rotating into Bitcoin. So we're getting the headline. Maybe for the first time, you're even considering that pension funds could allocate to Bitcoin. So this headline is for you. The firm is seeing, by the firm, it means BlackRock. BlackRock, how many times can I say it, is seeing a reinitiation of the discussion around Bitcoin, which turns on the topic of allocating to Bitcoin and how to think about it from a portfolio construction perspective. Many of these interested firms, whether we're talking about pensions, endowments, sovereign wealth funds, insurers, other asset managers, family offices, are having ongoing diligence and research conversations, and we're playing a role from an educated perspective. And we're playing a role. So BlackRock kind of say, we're jumping in, we're helping out on the education side of getting these really big money managers right on into Bitcoin. Of course, they would be taking a fee, so they're very happy to do so. A chunk of the current IBIT assets come from grayscale substitutions. Other sources could be outflows from higher priced international products in Canada or Europe. Again, because they've had ETFs for a while for Bitcoin. And some of it comes from Bitcoin future ETF being recycled into spot products. The futures ETF being seen by many investors as an inferior vessel, financial instrument to gain exposure to the price action of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's volatility is falling, and this will continue as it matures, says Fidelity. So Fidelity, the other big sales guy down on Wall Street, trying to get everybody to buy up Bitcoin. Fidelity says new assets typically take time to undergo price discovery, maturation, and then settle into lower volatility. Analyst Zach Warenwright wrote, nothing that even gold exhibited high volatility when the U.S. abandoned the gold standard in the 1970s. Noting that even gold exhibited high volatility when the U.S. abandoned the gold standard in the 1970s, says Zach Wainwright. So kind of comparing it there to gold. Things take time, right? Things take time for the due diligence to be done at that high institutional level. The news takes time, right? This kind of interesting crypto phenomenon where it takes time for people to, you and me, retail, as Tim called us, the idiots. I think he was being a little hyperbolic there. But when you and me, just kind of average investors, trading with our own money, investing with our own money, not on behalf, not of someone else, not acting as a fiduciary, just as our own money. There's not a lot. There hasn't been an overwhelming amount of us, right, who've made hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars quite yet in crypto or in Bitcoin, right? Because a lot of it has been ETF inflow and 401k holders, right? But when there does start to be a lot more, when Bitcoin hits 70, 80,000 again, and 80,000 for the first time, right? There'll be kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, a snowball, right? That kind of starts getting going, and retail starts to cascade into the market. Now, the situation's a little different this time, right? We don't have the federal government writing checks to retail investors in the form of, pandemic measures, right, and vouchers, just of cash in the United States. And we are, kind of in a time where GDP is restricting, right? So Bitcoin could act a little bit differently. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. T-Shroom, for those reasons, are you selling Bitcoin? Are you selling Ethereum? I am not. I am holding tightly, and I'm continuing to purchase names like MicroStrategies, in which we're going to hear from here in just a second. But Fidelity doesn't stop there. Fidelity says there is a clear downtrend, a downward trend in volatility for Bitcoin over its lifetime, and we believe this trend will continue as Bitcoin continues to mature over time. Okay, so that makes sense, right? There'll be less volatility in the future. Don't sell your Fidelity Bitcoin ETFs, please, is what Fidelity is kind of screaming out here, making sure that you are educated as an ETF Bitcoin investor. All right, let's get this MicroStrategy story here in just a second. First, crypto market sell-off was driven by retail investors, JP Morgan says. So maybe they've got their finger on the pulse of the markets. Who's allocating what? What are the inflows? Let's see what they have to say. The three headwinds the bank has already identified include elevated positioning, high Bitcoin prices versus gold and versus the estimated Bitcoin production cost, and then third, subdued crypto venture capital funding are also still in place. Right, so these three things working together, according to JP Morgan, are the three headwinds that are kind of keeping Bitcoin from convincingly making a move higher in an attempt to go ahead and print new all-time highs, of which I'm confident it will. But right now, but the question is when and how many bulls will be trapped and potentially forced to sell for a loss through poor risk mismanagement in the event that we are lower for longer than the market thought, even in a bull market. So that's kind of the latest there from JP Morgan. They go on. With regards to institutional investors, it has been mostly momentum traders such as commodity trading advisors, CTAs, or other quantitative funds taking profit on previous extreme long positions in both Bitcoin and gold. And we hear from Nicholas P. quite a bit. He wrote this, goes on, still analysis of the futures market suggests a more limited position reduction by other institutional investors outside quantitative funds and CTAs, the author wrote. So whales are holding, right? Big institutional traders, big quant funds are going ahead and taking profit strategically, maybe to buy back lower or to rotate back into the commodities market or futures market or whatever they want to trade ongoing after this big trade, right, that they've enjoyed, because they're in the business to make money and make it quick on behalf of their clients and then rotate back into, more predictable markets, you could say. But there's more limited position reduction by other institutional investors. So institutions, right, that are looking to get into Bitcoin for the long haul. So along with these headwinds that were identified by JP Morgan, these are kind of Wall Street's explanation for why we've seen such bullishness in Bitcoin, followed by kind of a languishing price and a drooping price as well. All right, let's get into this MicroStrategy story, and then we've got a really interesting one from her lady, the Elizabeth Warren, senator of Massachusetts. MicroStrategy unveils plan for Bitcoin-based decentralized identity using ordinals. Fascinating headline. Lot to unpack here. The software consulting firm began pitching itself as a Bitcoin development company earlier this year. Yes, this is Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy, saying it would work on development of the Bitcoin network through financial markets, advocacy, and innovation. MicroStrategy Orange, as it has been called, is a sign the company is putting this aim into practice. So they're not just saying that they're Bitcoin developers, they're putting it into practice. All right? The goal of MicroStrategy Orange is to provide trustless, tamper-proof, and long-lived decentralized identities using the Bitcoin blockchain. Founder Michael Saylor said at the company's Bitcoin for Corporations conference on Wednesday. Now, bros, help me out here. What is going on in the mind of Michael Saylor? Is this a good move for them, or is this something that could potentially lead into disaster? Because what this reminds me of, right, is WorldCoin. And it's also kind of what it reminds me of is some of the criticisms that Cardano gets for some of its decentralized identity dApps. So WorldCoin, in case you don't know, for every human, privacy first, owned by everyone, right? And their whole mission is World ID signups, right? This is what they keep a track of here on their website, which now they've got 5.1, almost 5.2 million. They've got 120 countries with the World ID users, which, I mean, there's only like 200-something countries in the world. And they've been able to achieve this in under 300 days. So let me know, bros, is this similar? Does this kind of ring a bell to you? And is this potentially going to get Michael Saylor over at MicroStrategies a little bit over his head? Could this potentially be the thing that drives the wedge between the crypto community, including Bitcoin maxis, of which Michael Saylor is probably the chief among them? Or is this not going to be as big of a deal because it's over on the Bitcoin side? Because there potentially be some opt-out aspects of this that goes ahead and gives it a little bit more of an acceptable status. To be honest with you, I don't have an opinion on this because I don't really know enough about what they're trying to do with Orange. But, there is potential for it to be seen in this way that I've described. So let me know, bros. Let's see who's in here saying what. No one knows, not even him. I don't know username if that's exactly what you're talking about. Matt C said, "Hey, bros, just saying hi. Been a hectic week. It has for a lot of people." Ma Peter said, "Only thing that put me off from MSTR is that MS keeps dumping shares." Good to know, Ma Peter. So, full disclosure, I do own. Excuse me. Man, I feel like Jerome Powell yesterday up there. Poor guy. He's not. He was speaking in front of millions of people. I'm not, but overall here, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening here with Michael Saylor over at MicroStrategies. It doesn't seem like the bros are too upset about it. B-Ball Golf chimed in, said, "The idea of a world coin scares me, but maybe that's just World Economic Forum listener inside me." Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what this zooms out to, right? Is like, what's the bigger picture? And why is MicroStrategy the one that needs to be gathering up everybody's information. But maybe, I shouldn't say rush to conclusions too much, right? I'm a huge fan of MicroStrategy. That's right. Full disclaimer, I'm quite a bit of a holder of MicroStrategy, and I don't plan on selling it, even though they apparently have been selling their own shares, right? There's a lot of reasons to do that. Maybe you sell them because you want to buy more Bitcoin, right? So overall, I'm thinking it's probably going to be revealed that this is going to be very different than WorldCoin. Otherwise, it could potentially be bad, very bad, be a big PR flop for MicroStrategies, of which in the crypto community, you couldn't imagine that would be the case, except for people who are really already really pissed at Michael Saylor for being a Bitcoin maxi. Let's see. Yep. Jay-Z said the infinite money glitch with MSTR. Invest Answers has a really good take on that. He does, and there is a bit of an infinity glitch, because as the shares become more valuable for MicroStrategy, they can sell them and buy more Bitcoin, and then as the price of Bitcoin goes up, the shares become more valuable, and they can sell more, and they could even split the shares too. So you might be, it's going to get to the point where they sell so many shares, right, that it starts to collapse. Well, it's like, they could split the shares, right? So they have a lot going on over MicroStrategy, and it's not a company that I want to sell. That's for sure. Eric Wallen said, Shroomy, you might as well wait for Coinbase earnings. That's right. Coinbase earnings, I think it might be today. Is that today, Eric? I think it is. Let's see. We've got one more story here about Elizabeth Warren. I can't believe I went the whole show. I thought I was going to stop at 30 minutes. Man, I'll tell you what, my day has been crazy today, bros. And in addition to getting kind of that scary call from Tim that maybe everything wasn't going perfectly and smoothly with the health of his family, I was at my fiance's graduation for her DPT. Let me know what you think a DPT is. A DPT, you have to answer quick, gives you authorization to practice as a physical therapist in the U.S. You must earn a Doctor of Physical Therapy degree from a commission on accredited physical therapy education, of which the University of Florida is one. So we were very much happy in celebrating her graduation. Very excited for that. And I got the call from Tim. So it's been a whirlwind of a day, and I'm very exhausted, but I wanted to bring you all the news here that matters to your crypto portfolio and bring it to you in an unbiased way. You might say, well, T-Shroom, you're saying there's a bull trap. How is that unbiased? It's unbiased because I'm not telling you to sell Bitcoin. I'm not telling you to buy Bitcoin either, right? I obviously have my biases, but I try to draw them out of my analysis, and I also try to identify them when I tell you what they are, right? So like when I told you, my bias right now is kind of that Bitcoin isn't going to be able to hold this level and that we're going to go lower. Will we get all the way down to 50, or will we find support at 55? I don't know, right? We'll see. Let's see. And then Eric Wallen was saying, no, Coinbase's earnings don't come out till 5:30. So this could be very bullish, though. Why? Because Coinbase, the earnings that they're going to be reflecting is all of the custodial work, all the custodianship work, and all the fees that they did for the new ETFs. This is the first quarterly report that Coinbase is going to be reflecting that income from the fees it's been taking from BlackRock and Fidelity. So we shall see what ends up happening with that, but it's very exciting. But whenever there's something exciting, of course, Senator Warren is there to throw a wet blanket on it. U.S. Senate's Warren warns national security chief about Iranian crypto mining. But she kind of steps on herself here. If she's trying to get Bitcoin shut down, if she's trying to complain about Bitcoin, then she may not have wanted to say this. Listen to how she words this. Warren and Senator August King of Maine sent a letter to Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, Secretary of Treasury Janet Yellen, and National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan to question what the authorities are doing with Iran's increasingly lucrative relationship with crypto mining that poses a direct threat to our national security. This is such a weird statement. First of all, how does another country's mining pose a threat to your national security? and then calling it increasingly lucrative. She's basically saying Bitcoin's important to U.S. national security, I guess, and that it's becoming increasingly lucrative. I mean, she might as well go ahead and put a bow on this and send it as a marketing card to every American in the country and say, hey, you want to get on something that's increasingly lucrative and it poses a direct threat to the national security if the Iranians are doing it? It just doesn't make any sense. But when was the last time that this woman actually attempted to make sense? I think it's been a while. No, of course. She's a smart woman. She's intelligent. But she clearly is working for some interest that is at least trying to be anti-Bitcoin. But in this headline, it just seems like even at that, they're failing. Even at that, they don't know what they're doing. All right, bros. Well, that earnings call from Coinbase is going to be really interesting. On that. And again, look, that is only going to be coming out here at 5:30 Eastern time. So we will not be covering that today. But usually we do a question and answer session here. Let's do a lightning round. If you guys have any questions about the market, about me, let's go ahead and get into them. Let's see what you have to say. I'm going to scroll back and see if I can find that message from Tim. I don't know where he put it because I saw it earlier just kind of as a Discord notification, but I don't know where he put it. If it was in general. Guys, by the way, if you want to become a member and get access to the Discord, there is a free Discord that you can access some general channels that we just chat in. And I thought that Tim had put his message in there, but I don't see it. I see a lot of funny chubby baby memes, but that is unrelated. So I don't know. I don't know where he put it. And it doesn't look like anybody has tagged me in it. So there's just so much activity that whenever he posted it, it's been buried by a bunch of more comments about the market. But I suppose it is a good time for you all to know that you can get access to our paid and free Discord. Maybe he took his comment down. I'm not sure. But let's see. Let's see if anybody's got any questions here. Here's a great one. B-Ball Golf, always on my side, asking favorite steak and temperature. I look at New York strip steak and I like it medium well. I know everybody's like, oh, you got to have it rare. I like rare steaks too, but I really like the flavor that comes out of a medium well. I like it a little bit more cooked. And people give me hate for that. But look, I am but a tea-shroom, DB Walker Fleet Logistics LLC, I'm sure that's definitely someone's given name, said, do you think Brett will be okay after all the scam stories? I'm not tracking that at all. I know that Brett is apparently the biggest meme coin on Base. Good for them. I hold Ordi and I hold Dogecoin. Those are my meme plays. Are people making way more money than me in the meme world? Yeah, they absolutely are, and I applaud them. Great. Super cool. I'm not getting into the meme coins any more than I have to. I think they can be fun. They are cool. That's just not my game, right? That's just not what I'm doing. Let's see. How many times a day do you read a thesaurus or encyclopedia? 0. 0 times a day. Let me actually think about that. Yeah, I don't ever read either of those things. But apparently there's a bunch of scam claims around Brett. That's interesting. Thoughts on ALGO? Oh man, ALGO was it was kind of like one of those coins that became heavily under question about it, not being all that valuable. And then I remember Charles Hoskinson offered for ALGO to be a side chain for Cardano, which to me seems like a pretty backhanded insult, but maybe in the dev world it's not that bad. And I don't know that it's really recovered since then from a PR standpoint, from a public relations standpoint. I don't think investors are very bullish on it, but that doesn't mean that it can't do well during the bull market. Which exchange do you guys use for memes? We don't. I mean, I don't. I would assume probably Jupiter, right, for memes, because a lot of them are on Solana or Uniswap. I mean, If you're like really new and you just don't know anything about meme coins, that's probably where I would get it. But I'm not in the meme world, right? Where do I hold my ordi? I hold it on Uphold, the Uphold app, where you can also buy Caspa and Bitcoin. Thoughts on Link? I think Link's great. I think the technology is very, very good. It's a leading oracle, right? And it also is very entrenched. It has a lot of partnerships. So Link fundamentally is really good from a technical analyst standpoint. It looks like there could potentially be more selling, right? But if you don't have any Link at all, I would say that right now the prices we're at are pretty decent. Are we bullish on Aerodrome? Aerodrome, I think you can be bullish on Aerodrome, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Base doesn't have a coin. It seems to me like Aerodrome is kind of relieves the pressure a little bit. People like to buy it because they would have bought Base coin, but there isn't one. But as a technology, I think it also is pretty good. Are we back to 9 a.m. again tomorrow? Absolutely. Yeah, we'll be back. All right. Thank you so much, bros, for tuning in. It has been my pleasure. It has been my pleasure to go ahead and bring you all the news, the hard-hitting TA that matters to your crypto portfolio. I am a very exhausted T-Shroom, and I really do sincerely. If I may have said something that was really crazy in this episode, just know that usually me and Tim, we're going hard. We're bringing you guys the full analysis of everything we're seeing in the news. I think right now, the way I'm looking at it, it's Bitcoin. It's crypto, right? The whales will do what they want. There's a chance that we've seen the bottom, that the bottom was at 56.6, right? And that we just go higher from here. Maybe, albeit very sideways and very slowly, but it is possible we go higher from here. Looking at the chart and being kind of a little bit more of an experienced investor here in crypto, I think that a dip back down to 55, 52, 50, and maybe even 48 is something that you should be considering as a possibility. You should be open to it, as Caleb Franzen said on yesterday's show. Does that mean that if you're just getting into crypto that you should wait for those prices? No, you should buy Bitcoin a little bit, right? 20 to 50% of what you have that you can afford to invest, right? And then wait for those dips, buy more, and then use the DCA method, the dollar cost averaging method from there. In T-Shroom, is that financial advice? It's not, right? It's advice to the average person who has some disposable income that they would like to go ahead and invest into the market, and it's not advice, it's education. All right, we're having fun. We're keeping our stop losses tight if we're human. We're staying hydrated. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Investing Bros. We will get back to our regularly scheduled programming tomorrow and through the rest of the week. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shroom's news got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros.